Jesus says, I have glorified thee on earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. What are your priorities? What's important? Does life hold anything significant for you, or are you just doing life on life's terms?
Help us, Lord. Help us.
Wow. The reason that most major goals don't get achieved is because we spend our time doing second things first. Doing second things first. And I hope it's causing things just to kind of churn in your head and just start thinking about, how do I spend my time? Am I maximizing my time? Am I being the best at what I've been given to do? Am I fulfilling purpose, or am I just doing stuff? Because it's easy to do stuff and get the applause of men, and God says you didn't even touch what I put you here to accomplish. And we get so caught up in the applause of men, but God says, somebody said, imagine someone deposits $86,100 in your personal account every day, and you have to spend it. $86,100, and whatever you don't spend, you lose. Then he says God has given us 86,100 seconds every single day, and whatever you don't use, you lose. You can't carry it over. You can't carry it over to next year. Now, whatever you don't use, you lose it. Wow. I have up here, I have containers, 2 containers of sand. Then I have small pebbles. Then I have rocks. The sand represents those things that have no significance in your life at all. Then the pebbles represent those that have some level of importance, but they're secondary things. The rocks represent those things that are most important in your life. And these, you know what these represent? These represent your life. And this is what happens oftentimes. This is our lives. We spend so much of our lives on checking our social media, watching Days of Our Lives, Young and the Restless. We lost some more amens. Updating our Twitter accounts. Gossiping. And that represents so much of our lives. And then we have these things that are, they're kind of important. Cars, jobs, things like that just consume so much of our time, right? So we talked about the 7 important things. So I have 7 rocks that represents the most important things. 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and my life is filled. But I'm supposed to be able to put 3 more rocks in, not on top of, in. But as you see, there's no room for the most important things in my life, because my life is so filled with things that don't have any relevance. But here's the deal. If I prioritize the same 7 rocks, same 7 rocks. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of my priorities, my pursuit of God, my prayer life, the purpose of God, my family, my health, all of those things fit into my life, right? But watch this. When I put first things first, now those things that are secondary, they fit right in there. When you do first things, as a matter of fact, even those things, they don't even have any value. When you do the important things first, it's amazing how many other things you can fit into your life that you couldn't fit when you did the unnecessary things first. Anybody hearing me? I measured. I got the same amount of pebbles, the same amount of sand, and you can work things around your priorities, and you still have room to do the things that are not even. Look at that. Anybody hear me? So when you do first things first, when you have things that are most important, same amount of stuff, it's amazing how things fit. Amen. Same size bowls, same size rocks, but when you do important things last, there are so many things that you don't get accomplished because you don't value things that are important. But when you put the important things in first, it's amazing how things can work around what's important.
Amen. Good.
So what I'm saying to you is that we spend so much time on secondary issues until we never fulfill purpose. And those secondary, that sand represents the job of the adversary to keep us focused on things that are irrelevant, that have no redemptive value, that don't mean anything in our lives. And sometimes we hang out with people that ain't going nowhere, which means we're not going nowhere either. Sometimes we're in places that don't have any benefit, so it's just taking life from us. And once that life is gone, you can't carry it over to the next year. It's just gone. And all of those things that we should do cannot fit because we have all of these unnecessary issues going on in our lives. But when you put first things first, everything else works itself around your priorities instead of your priorities trying to work itself around all of this unnecessary stuff. So what would happen if you establish priorities in your life and start walking out what you know to be what God's ordained for you? What would happen in your life if you put first things first? Amen. And I'm not suggesting that you don't. Not all of you. I mean, some of you are not. There's so many things that we could do better. We have terrible eating habits. We don't drink water. We don't sleep like we need to. We don't rest. We don't give our bodies rest. We just keep putting demands and demands and demands on our body. And we treat our body just like God is just going to keep healing us. Because we don't put first things first. Then we end up on medication.
That's it.
Going to doctor's visits. And a lot of times that's simply because we prioritized unnecessary things. And look how much of the bowl, the unnecessary things, 50% of our life seems to be consumed with stuff that have no value.
No value. Good.
So how does this speak to you, or does it?
Amen. Amen.
This says to me, Michael, you can do better. That's what it says to me. It says to me, there are some things that you can shift in your life to do better with your life. Jesus says, I have glorified thee on the earth, and I have finished what you have sent me here to do. Are you glorifying the Lord on this earth? And if you die today, but God say, well done, you finished what I sent you here to do.
Hallelujah. Lord, we thank you.
Because tomorrow's not promised to any of us.
Jesus.
So if Jesus came and took us right now, would he say, well done?
Lord.
In the time that you had, you made the best use of your time.
Yep, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Same amount of sand, same amount of pebbles, same amount of stones. It's amazing how the same size container could fit when their priorities are put in first. So my challenge to all of us is, how are you spending your time?
Amen.
How are you spending your time? Because we're going to have to answer.
That's right.
Our life is a gift. We're not entitled. This is not entitlement. Our life is a gift. Our time on this earth is a gift from God.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's not something that we deserved. It's not anything that we qualified for. God loved us enough to breathe into us. And he says, I want you to occupy until I come.
Glory. Hallelujah. Bless the Lord.
So at the end of the day, when you stand before God and God opens that book of your life, which one of these are going to speak to your life? Because it's one or the other.
Amen.
It's one or the other. Sometimes we treat life like we control it. So Lord, teach me to number my days,
That's right.
that I may apply my heart unto wisdom. And if every one of you will tell me the truth, there are some things that we could have done better, or some things that we can do better. Prayer needs to be prioritized in your life, because everything else springs forth from the time spent with God. Because if you're not spending time with God, how do you even know what you're supposed to be doing?
Amen.
If you're not spending time with the Creator, then how do you even know what your purpose is? So you go through life and you achieve success and you get all of these accolades, but did you ever tap into your purpose?
Amen.
Sometimes we get up and we have no goals. We have no ambitions. So the day comes and the day leaves and tomorrow's the same thing. But have you set priorities? Somebody say priorities. Have you set priorities in your life, and are you organizing around those priorities?